let's go. By the way, the name's Esco. Platinum range, make your man know we wet those. If he front, I got the tech close. To you, much respect, oh, the born truth. Had to put it on you.
DJ Sus one.
Should I bring it up to date? Or should I continue with the That's Classic mix? And they said keep it classic by... So I'm going to keep it classic for anybody raised in the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, all my ladies. Let's do it. It's Power 5-1.
Black Westchester audience, we have DJ Sus One.
The feature presentation, Power 5-1, Sirius XM. Hip Hop Nation was cracking.
We are excited to interview you. I've been waiting for this, and I'm excited to be up here to interview. And I have a few questions to ask you.
First of all, it's good to have a magazine interviewing me from my hometown, 914. So, shout out to that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Let's talk.
Yes. I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
When did you first fall in love with music? How did you know?
So you want me to tell my age, basically?
I want you to tell you
Now,
your age.
I've loved music my whole life. Like, there's actually videos that exist that you and nobody else on planet Earth will ever see.
Really?
Of me as a child dancing to Michael Jackson and all types of stuff.
I gotta dig.
I've always been into music. I got into DJing when my uncle put me on to a DJ. First of all, I always used to see Kid Capri DJing at the end of Def Comedy Jam.
Yes.
And my uncle, Daryl Coop from Queens, he put me on to Ron G mixtapes. And Ron G used to have the craziest blend tapes. He used to have Miss Jones before she was a radio personality, singing at the beginning of the tapes. He used to be the craziest blends. So I used to listen to those tapes crazy. And then, you know, I got into other mixtapes. You know, all the Kid Capri and SNS and DJ Juice and just all the classic mixtapes from. There's so many DJs, and then, you know, Clue started popping with the exclusives, and I used to listen to Red Alert on Kiss FM, and
right.
And then when Hot 97 first started, that's when Flex started rocking. So I was just been the whole '90s, you know, growing up in high school and all that stuff. I was just started DJing and got into it. Had belt drive turntables, some bootleg turntables that my dad got for me, and I just started practicing every day for hours a day in my room until I started getting a little bit better than whack. And then I just kept going.
That's awesome. So when did you first have an opportunity to DJ in front of a crowd, and how did you feel?
I'll tell you the time I remember, which I think was the first time. You know, I was always DJing in front of my friends in the basement of my crib or in the house or whatever.
And what was their reaction?
At the beginning, you know, I think they were just trying to tell me I was good, but I was really whack. But I ended up getting good. So I remember, so I went to Woodlands High School, amongst other high schools in Greenburgh, New York. And they was doing a party. I forgot what the party was for. And one of my friends was DJing, Joey Taylor. His name was DJ Somatic. He was like the DJ that was DJing all the parties in high school, and DJ Corn from Greenburgh.
Corn Wallace, yes.
Corn Wallace, yeah. So, but this particular party, the young boy Somatic was DJing. He was younger than me. You know, nobody believed I could DJ. I wasn't like the popular kid in high school. He was like, you can't DJ. So my boy was DJing. This is Crates of Records time. So I was like, yo, let me throw on like a few records.
Right.
And I remember I picked out 4 records. I can't remember every record. I remember one of them was Total Can't You See with Biggie.
Okay. I
remember one was Players Anthem, Notorious B.I.G. and Junior Mafia. And there was a couple other records. I threw on like 4 records.
Right.
And I was scratching them in, and it came on crazy. And I started using the mic, and everybody went crazy because they didn't know I could DJ like that.
That's dope. That's so dope.
That's the time I remember when I first got a reaction out of people I was in school with or people I was around. So,
who is, we're going to pick the brain of DJ Sus One, who is your top 5 rap artists?
That's such a difficult question.
I know. I know it is.
I don't want to sound generic. See, my knowledge goes back for a long time. So I really think it depends on what era. But Biggie, I'll
give you
generic.
2. Okay, so let me make it easy for you. I'll give you 2.
Definitely one of my favorites. But go ahead.
Okay, we'll do from the 80s and 90s, and then we'll do now.
I think with me, you should start from the 90s because even though I got knowledge from the 80s, my era really started in the 90s.
Okay,
that's when I fell in love with music.
Okay.
But see, the 90s was split up too.
Yeah.
When I first started DJing as a kid. like not DJing professionally, but when I first started paying attention to music and DJing as a kid, like KRS was popping.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Queen Latifah, Naughty by Nature, like
Yes.
Rakim, Eric B. and Rakim was popping. There were so many people popping there. Of course, Rakim was one of the greatest. Of course, KRS is one of the greatest at that time. But if you want my favorite of all time,
Five. You need five. Five favorite of the 90s,
I'm gonna sound generic because, of course, Biggie is one of my favorites. He's just one of my favorites. Life After Death was a double album, and I could listen to that whole album, including interludes,
from front to back.
Front to back.
I agree.
Double album.
Agreed.
For me, there's not many artists I could do that with. You know, everybody's different.
It's
That's
true.
just my opinion. Hove.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to ever do it. You know, people
Agreed.
say, if Biggie wasn't still alive, do you think he would have that title? But nobody.
They always say
bottom
that.
line is we don't know.
Right.
Biggie ended up passing away. Rest his soul.
Right.
But Hove has held the crown for a long time and has been consistent
Right.
for a long time. Now, here's one that's not in a lot of people's top.
Because you got three so far.
See, it depends what we're talking about. Are we talking about MCs, artists? Because LL Cool J.
Yes, he said it. Yes, LL. He's in my.
To me.
Yeah.
But now this comes to the argument. They're going to be like, well, he's not one of the greatest lyricists, or whatever,
Right.
but he's one of the greatest rappers and artists of all time.
Agreed. Completely.
You know, he's one of my favorite. Wow, there's a few, man. This is gonna sound crazy, but I don't know if I could give him the all time. But right now in this generation, one of my favorites is probably my favorite is Drake.
You better high five me. I'm gonna give you a high five, like
of the new generation.
Yes. So how do you feel about the Drake and Meek? I don't want to get into that, but how do you feel about
quickly.
that?
Drake is one of the greatest of all time. Now,
Yes.
there's an argument: can he be mentioned with the greatest, like Hove and all of them? And Biggie and the ones I just named,
I believe
if he
so.
hasn't written 100% of his music. Drake writes his music, let's be clear.
Right.
But it was proven, obviously, because Meek put him out there, that there's a handful of songs, a small percentage out of the 100%, there was a small percentage of songs that he had ideas given to him.
Right.
And he did change them around.
Well, he said he signed up to be great.
Yeah,
He said
so
that's what he, so
that's an argument. I don't know
Yes.
what your opinion is. I know what other people's opinion is. The
Right.
argument is, can you be mentioned with the tops if you haven't written 100% of your music?
right.
But then there's the argument of how do you even know the greatest writ 100% of their music, just because it was never exposed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother argument. But I do feel like Drake is definitely one of the greatest artists of today's generation. It is what it is.
How about R&B? Because I seen you going in on the classics there, so you have some in-depth knowledge about R&B music. So who would be your top as far as
even know,
R&B?
man.
Well, it has to be Mariah because I see that she's one
Mariah
of your.
is definitely one of the great. See, R&B, it's a very difficult category because I don't know if Whitney would be considered R&B. Was she
Yes.
considered R&B?
Yeah.
Because you got to put Mariah, you got to put Whitney,
Yes.
you got to put R. Kelly.
Ah, yes.
But this is the thing. It depends what era you're talking about.
Right. Well, let's just with R&B, let's just do the whole spectrum from beginning to now.
I was thinking Drake is one of the greatest R&B now.
Yeah. Which is, well, he said it in a song, yeah. So, go ahead, yeah, sorry.
Whitney's one of my favorites of all time. She's had so much powerful music with powerful vocals and meaningful music that that I haven't heard anybody today match the vocals that Whitney has.
Talk about it, that's true.
Mariah, same thing. R. Kelly, his catalog of hits is just banana.
Right.
His catalog of hits is just so crazy. It's just bananas. Like, I don't know what to say about that.
I was going through it the other day. It's funny you say that, yeah. It's
bananas.
extensive.
But I don't know. Those are definitely up there. But there's so many. I don't know. Michael Jackson, obviously, they call him the king of pop.
Right.
So I don't know if you mentioned the category of R&B, but he had R&B music as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I guess pop it just means popular music.
Right.
But he was incredible as well.
Right.
Cliff, who would be in your put my boy Cliff in real quick. Who would be
Hi,
your
Cliff.
top?
Hey, how you doing?
Your top 5 R&B
Guys or for
or whatever.
whatever? Wow. Kells,
Definitely.
Donnell Jones,
Ah, there you go.
Top though?
top.
Really?
Yeah, you see it. He got some classic
How
albums.
about Jill Scott? Nobody mentioned Jilly from Philly.
I never really, you know what's crazy? I've never really been on her music like that. I need to pay attention to her more. I'm gonna keep it real. I know
do.
that's bad for a DJ to say, but I've never really
Her newest Woman, her
into it.
album Woman, is like a masterpiece.
Yeah, I got to check it out because everybody talks about Jill Scott. Of course, I know some of her songs, but I've never been into it the way I was into, a lot of the artists I named. But maybe I
Right.
got to pay more attention.
She's dope. She's super dope. So, who's the rest of your?
Would you consider Janet pop?
Yes.
But Janet, that's another argument. Also, people used to say her producers made her the way she is. She's one of the greatest, though. Period.
She is. Performance, everything across the board. So, what would you say was your most difficult decision you had to make as far as your career in DJing? What was the most difficult decision you've had to make? Be it friends, be it where you had to work. What was the most challenging decision?
I think, it's crazy. It wasn't difficult for me, but it was at the same time. I think actually going full force with DJing, period.
Okay.
Because nobody...
Making it a career decision.
Yeah, like, I don't have kids, but think about it. Most parents, when they have children, like, what do parents, they usually say, what are you going to be?
Right.
You want to be a doctor? You want to be a lawyer? You want to be...
Right.
What do you want to be? Even, fireman, policeman? What do you want to be?
Right.
When you say DJ, they don't believe, they don't get it. You know what I'm saying? That you can make money doing that. And I remember my family didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I had to make a decision at a young age, because when you're young, you listen to what your family says.
Right.
I had to make a decision at a young age to go full force with the DJing, and it paid off. Like, in my family right now, when I didn't have bread back then, now I'm the person that everybody asks for bread and stuff. But
I get it, yeah.
that was a difficult decision, but it also was an easy decision because the first thing I thought about waking up in the morning was DJing. So.
Right, and it's something that you love, so it's not
Amongst
really
other
like
things.
working, right?
No, I
Can you
get
say
when
that?
you get, at first it's something that you love, and it's not really like working. I still love it to today.
Right.
But when you
As
have
busy as you are.
No, not that. It's just that when you get into the game and it's about money and paying and getting, it's about bills and the politics and the business part about it. That part's not always fun.
Which leads me to my next question.
Okay.
If you had a magic wand and could change anything about the industry, what would it be?
The shadiness and the dishonest people.
Talk about it.
But that's not just the industry. I think something I would think I would change
general.
about in people in general.
Right.
Because I can only speak for myself, but 90% of the people I meet in general are just dishonest and, maybe I'm
Talk
surrounded
about
a
it.
bunch of messed up people. But maybe I'm just not around the right people. But most of the people I meet in general are just dishonest,
Right.
and disloyal, and shady.
Right.
And there's a small percentage of people that are honest and not shady, and that's why I have very few people that I call real friends.
What's your sign?
I'm a Scorpio.
Oh, can't
I
get
don't
away
know
from
anything.
y'all.
I don't know anything about the signs of horoscope, so you got to school me.
All right. What advice can you give to the younger generation that wants to make this a career move, that, they're adamant about this and they really believe that this is something that they can do successfully? What advice could you give them?
First of all, for the younger generation, I want to say study your craft, because a lot of the younger generation, it's a little bit different because the TV when we were growing up used to tell us a lot of stuff about classic records and teach us stuff of music that wasn't just now and current,
Right.
and the radio too. But since music has been even a bigger business than it was in the past, especially hip hop, and money got involved, it's just like they don't, and it's taken over. They only play what research as well, the radio stations, and also when kids now just go and on YouTube, they just go for what they want to hear, which is usually what either they heard on the radio or what's popping around their peers.
Right.
So they don't know classic music or music from the 90s or music their parents might have grew up to.
Right.
So if you're a DJ, I want to say study your craft. Don't just know what's popping today. Know what was popping back then. No, just study your craft. Study all types of genres of music. Study just...
And not
everything.
just hip hop or pop, just everything,
Just
classical,
I
everything.
mean, I'm not saying you have to DJ everything, it's up to you, but have a knowledge of music in general and have a knowledge of music that's just not today. Go back
Right.
to your parents and your parents' parents, your grandparents. Have a knowledge of music. When I came up DJing, I I knew what my mom was listening to, and she would tell me what her parents were listening to, and I would just know all that. It would just be about what's popping today.
Right.
As you just heard on the radio, I was, I like the school people on music they haven't heard in a minute.
Right. So,
well, other advice is if this is your dream, don't let nobody tell you different. Don't quit. Just keep going. And if you really believe in it, do whatever it takes, as long as it's legal to make your dreams come true.
What can we expect from Sus One? Because you're all over the United States, obviously. But what are you doing next? What's next for Sus One?
I have a lot going on. So I'm just trying to perfect radio. Everybody says you're good at radio, but I'm just trying to get more interviews going on. Like I'm actually kind of new to interviewing artists. Okay. I've been rocking being a radio jock and being a good DJ for a while, but now I got a job at Sirius XM Hip Hop Nation, and not only do I DJ, not only do I jock, but now I've been interviewing artists and stuff. So I'm trying to perfect the interviewing skills and watch my peers and my heroes like Angie Martinez and listen to Howard Stern a lot and stuff like. So I'm trying to perfect that because I'm new to that. So I'm just trying to perfect my craft with the radio, even though I'm this far. I also have a record label, the Feature Presentation Music Group. Everything's the Feature Presentation. Right. So I have a record label called the Feature Presentation Music Group, and we got an artist named Orgy Rose signed. So she has a record called That Love. She has a whole mixtape out called Guns N' Roses, Chapter 1 Guns N' Roses. It's on iTunes. Okay. Her first single is with Troy Ave called That Love. It's running on MTV and VH1 and all those stations. And she got another record called Ice Cream with Remy Ma and Fetty Wap. That's running on MTV and all that. That's dope. And it's on YouTube. It's on Vivo. So I'm working on her project. Plus, I'm looking for artists. I'm looking for producers. And also, one of my future plans, this is actually left, but it's just another one of my dreams, and it's going to happen. I have a company called the Feature Presentation Films. That's dope. But I don't want to, it's kind of weird because nobody really hears this in hip-hop, but I want to produce horror movies to start.
Oh, that's so dope. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so I'm going to, I grew up watching, like, in the 80s, I was watching Friday the 13th and Elm Street and Child's Play. And, The Exorcist. And, all these movies. So that was just my thing. You come to my crib, it's like a big geek crib. I got all the movie posters. And so I'm trying to produce horror movies, and I'm working on some scripts with some people. And
so for the ladies that want to know, because I'm sure they're going to ask, is Mr. Sus on the market or off the market?
Yeah, and I'm single right now.
Oh, y'all heard that, girl.
Right I'm single, no kids. I'm not that old yet. And I'm chilling. I'm just working. Right. If I find a girl that's loyal and honest, which is very difficult. Right. Then, and of course I gotta be attracted to her on some level, but loyalty and honesty is the most important.
Key.
Yeah, it's the key, because a lot of girls that I met have other things in the package, like visually and make me laugh or whatever. Right. They're dishonest and disloyal.
Right. So a lot of people don't know that is a huge part of everything. Like, honesty is I wrote something about that the other day. It's like the key thing. Honesty. Anything else is just a plus on top of that. So what do you do when you meet a female and you've been dating her for a while and you find out that she's dishonest? What does Sus do? Let's get into the
First of all, I'm like a sucker. I'm gonna keep it real, because the last relationship I was in, this girl was lying so hard. Yeah, but there was so many red flags, and it took me a while. Even my boys was trying to tell me, it took me a while.
Scorpios have good hearts.
You have a good heart, so I was overlooking a lot of stuff. Right. I'm not trying to sound like a clown or corny.
Was it because she was easy on the eyes?
Nah, it's just because when you care about something, everybody's been into this. When you care about, I don't want to sound soft, but when you care about somebody, you believe what they tell you. Right. Like, you don't feel like there's any reason for them to lie.
Right. Absolutely.
For me, some people catch the red flags immediately. Right. For me, when I care about somebody, and this is a bad thing, but sometimes it takes a lot of red flags for me to be like, is she really
lying to me?
Right. Is she really doing this?
Right.
So I went through that a couple of years ago.
Okay. And so you've been single since then?
Yeah, like, I have girls I go out with or talk to, whatever, but nothing serious. Okay. So I'm chilling right now.
All right, you hear that, ladies? He's single, but he is very passionate about his pursuits. So make no mistake, if you chase after him, you're gonna have to know that he's a busy man.
Well, that's another thing. A lot of girls don't want. It's crazy. It's hard for them to handle anybody in the industry.
Right. Well, they think everybody's the same in the industry. They feel like a lot of guys, you know, they're around a lot. Yes.
And I can't even blame them.
That's the worst thing, though, because there are a lot of good guys also.
No, there is.
Right.
But I can't even blame people for stereotyping. I suggest don't stereotype because
right.
I don't do sucker shit.
Right.
Which is crazy. When I tell that to girls, they're like, yeah, right. See,
right.
The problem is there's so many dudes and women that do people dirty.
Talk about it.
That when the small percentage of people that they find that don't do people dirty.
Right. It's a shock.
They don't, no, not even a shock. They just don't believe it.
Right. It's very hard to digest.
And I have trust issues with that as well, so I'm not trying to judge I'm not judging anybody, but I get it.
Right. Right. You get why.
I'm trying to learn to let go and just start trusting.
And can you give everyone your Instagram, your of course, obviously they already follow you on 105.1 and Sirius Radio, but your Instagram, your Facebook, and where can everybody find
it's all simple. So my Instagram is at DJ Sus1. My Twitter is at DJ Sus1. If you go on Snapchat, just search DJ Sus1. My Facebook is DJ Sus1. Do I have anything else? YouTube is DJ Sus1. I need to really get on my YouTube. I don't really put anything on there. But YouTube is DJ Sus1, and also thefeaturepresentation.com, at the feature presentation on Instagram, at the feature prez on Twitter. And I also have another company if you like retro stuff like 80s and 90s stuff like the mix I was just playing. That's classic.net.
That's dope.
And at That's Classic Official on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook and all that. So we're starting that up too.
That is awesome. We want to thank you again, Black Westchester audience. This is
Thank you.
DJ Sus1. He is awesome.
So hold up. Westchester, I got to shout. Greenburgh, White Plains, Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, Yonkers, just all the way, just everybody in 914. Respect.
Absolutely.
And thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
All right.
You guys got to see me giving him the pound.
Hey, ladies.
Oh, be happy, baby.
Shout to Keith the Barber from Famous Barbershop, Uptown Mount Vernon on the check-in. I see you. Priscilla Etchie, Black Westchester Magazine on the check-in. What's cracking, miss? Do it.
Every day and night I pray. Love will swing you back this way.
I got 2 minutes. That's all right. That's all right. I got 2 minutes. I got 2 minutes. Hold on.
Did you ever think that you would be this rich? Did you ever think that you would have these hits? Did you ever think that you would be the time? Have a crib with the 50-acre lot? Did you ever think that you would be this paid? There are times when your past was real plain.
Radio show, and that was the portion of the show called the That's Classic Mix, which I think I'm going to do every Saturday from now on. But let me know, because everybody's showing me so much love on the social, on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. If you want me to bring it up to date right now after we pay some bills, let me know on my Instagram, at DJ Sus1. If you want me to keep it classic and keep it with the old school to the top of the hour and the throwbacks, let me know on my Instagram as well, at DJ Sus1, or tweet me, at DJ Sus1. We'll be right back. Do we have any Beyonce tickets, extra ones to give away? We might have to get an extra pair of tickets to give away. I'll let y'all know. Extra pair of Beyonce tickets. But let me know if you want me to keep it classic and bring it up to date. Like I said, at DJ Sus1, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I'll be right back in minutes. It's Power 5-1.